After my death, 80-year-old Shinheji married his 78-year-old first love. That day, the finance professor who had been aloof and cold all his life showed a rare, indulgent smile. I am grateful to the years. I have finally married the girl I liked when I was young. Lovers who had been separated for over half a century finally reunited, their joy moving heaven and earth. Yet I, who had accompanied him throughout his life, was his original partner whose name left no trace. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself sitting on the cold floor, dressed in a provocative outfit, with his back turned to me. Shinheji's voice was as indifferent as a cloud. Jiangning, if this is really so important to you, we should just get a divorce. The child can stay with me. It won't affect your dating. 01. I stared blankly at his back. This familiar scene had also occurred in my past life. Back then, I was flushed with shame and indignation. I had stripped down and thrown myself at him. But Shinheji was utterly unmoved by my feelings, angered and resentful at his cold-heartedness. He even thought of taking away my son, whom I had raised through hardships. Let's divorce then, but Ru Jing stays with me. I'll just never date again, I cried out. I didn't want to end up being looked down upon by Shinheji over such matters. Shinheji turned around and gently wiped the tears and snot all over my face. Jiangning, stop it. How can I be assured and let you and our daughter go like this? He was always like this, heartless yet tender. I hated his cold aloofness, but I couldn't let go of his gentle and refined side. My wailing grew even louder. He shook his head helplessly and sighed deeply. Ning Ning, why don't you believe that none of this will affect my feelings for you? I naturally didn't believe him, but facing Shinheji's clear and sincere eyes, I couldn't help but wonder if I was indeed asking for too much. People are varied. Shinheji, like a flower on a high ridge, probably just wasn't into this kind of thing. Enough is enough. With Ru Jing, I really didn't want to look any further. It was better to just be with Shinheji. At least his face was pleasing to look at. Thinking this way, my desire for a divorce gradually faded, so I fiercely grabbed his collar, eyes nearly bursting. I warned him word by word, Shinheji, from now on, you better pray I don't find out you have a mistress. He was stunned, then couldn't help but laugh. You, really, say it, I said sternly. All right, if I betray you, may I be ruined and leave without a penny. All right. Only then did I break into laughter. Leaving without a penny didn't matter. Everyone knew that Shinheji, as a financial genius and the youngest professor, was a gentleman of integrity who valued his reputation above all. The storm passed. He pointed at the stewardess outfit I was wearing and gently shook his head. Clearly disapproving, I scrambled onto the bed, diving under the covers, my face burning up. Actually, I never really intended to do anything. I was just curious and couldn't resist trying. Shinheji's deep eyes twinkled with a hint of a smile. I understand. What do you understand? I muttered, clutching the corner of the blanket. He suddenly leaned in close and whispered, I understand that our Ning Ning is very innocent, right? I let out a gasp, entirely wrapped in my blanket. I kept yelling for him to leave. The door closed gently, with a click, along with my restless, eager heart. It was completely locked away, yet I still harbored fantasies that one day, Shinheji, as wonderful as he was, would fall in love with me. But it wasn't until I was old and lying on my sickbed, when he visited me with Lu Yanjing, his hair now silver, confident and elegant, did I realize I was wrong, terribly wrong. On my deathbed, I looked at Shinheji, old Shin. I can no longer deceive myself into thinking that my life was just a failed conquest. I am truly a pitiful person. He held my hand, tears falling, acknowledging silently, you've made my life so difficult. Tears of humiliation clouded my vision. If there is a next life, I definitely do not want to live like this. Fortunately, heaven took pity and gave me another chance. Fine, let's divorce. You can keep Ru Jing, I said coolly as I got up. Shinheji's proud back stiffened. And he slowly turned around, frowning. Ning Ning, stop this nonsense. Ru Jing has a professor for a father. His future won't be bleak. His eyebrows furrowed slightly as he assessed me. Then he came over and gently embraced me. Ning Ning, Ru Jing is your son. I know how much you've invested in him. I won't fight with you for him. Professor Shin is mistaken. I'm still a maiden. I don't have a son. I hope after the divorce, you can clarify this. I pushed him away, responding with a cold laugh. In my past life, for the sake of Shinheji's reputation, I remained a widow all my life. I also acknowledged the adopted Shin Ru Jing as our biological son, all for the sake of one day turning this illusion of a happy family into reality. Even in the long, tedious marriage, when I couldn't warm Shinheji's heart, I gradually shifted my efforts to raising Shin Rujing, finding a new purpose. But I never expected Shin Heji and his son to be so ruthless. They deceived me thoroughly, leaving me with nothing, even wanting to consume all I had. I remembered it even in death. In my previous life, after I learned of Lu Yanjing's existence, I called Shin Rujing into the ICU alone, emphasizing over and over, he had to ensure my divorce from Shin Heji was finalized before I closed my eyes. I wanted to clear my ties with him before I left. I didn't want to still be known as his wife after my death. I found it repulsive. I thought that this son, whom I raised and nurtured into a talented man, would understand me and fulfill my final wish. I gripped his hand firmly, filled with hope. Also, Rujing, you must personally cremate me and bury me in the Jiang family ancestral grave. Mom, you're so ill, don't think too much. Shin Rujing listened silently, his expression troubled. Whether it's the divorce or not letting Dad handle your funeral, it will only make outsiders laugh at our family. My eyes widened. He looked at me helplessly, as if seeing a child throwing a tantrum. Both Dad and Aunt Lu are old, they want to spend their last moments with the ones they love. Let them settle this one regret. After all, because of you, they wasted their entire lives. Is this still my son? I can't believe it. So I widened my eyes and looked carefully. Now middle-aged, he wore gold-rimmed glasses just like Shinhee in his youth, and the more I looked, the more their eyes and brows resembled each other. In his cool and gentle demeanor, there was a hint of aloofness. Perhaps it was a moment of lucidity, but suddenly, a ludicrous and bold thought popped into my head. Rujing, you. I gasped heavily. Ha ha ha, why on earth this nonsense? Nonsense indeed. So his son with his lover has grown up this much. The machines connected to my body started to emit a sharp alarm. Shin Rujing panicked and stood up to call for a doctor, but the ones who came in were Lu Yanjing and Shinhee. Mom, what are you doing here? He turned and instinctively exclaimed. It came out so naturally and familiarly. Lu Yanjing, ignoring the resistance from father and son, walked straight towards me. She sat by my bed, took my withered hand, and spoke calmly. Jiangning, I know you have many questions. You've raised Rujing so well. I definitely had to thank you personally. Yanjing, Rujing. My gaze wandered over the three faces. So that's how it is. So that's how it is. Lu Yanjing smoothed her white temples. Authoritative. You've spent your life doing good deeds. There's no need to make everyone look bad now, is there? Shin Rujing mumbled and lowered his head, chiming in. Mom, think about your son too. My promotion evaluation is next month. Shinhee, feeling guilty, looked away. A man who had been upright all his life now couldn't even look me in the eye. Good. You're all so wonderful. After a while, coming to terms with it, I pounded the bed and laughed bitterly. My life, Jiangning, from beginning to end, was spent making wedding clothes for others. Even in death, I'm being manipulated by others. My death was silent, and my life details were deliberately obscured. The public only remembers the renowned finance expert Shinhee, who, after becoming a widower, reunited with his first love. This couple, separated for 60 years, finally tied the knot in the last stage of their lives, with no regrets and time well spent. The whole world cheered and celebrated for them, while I, who accompanied Shinhee for a lifetime and devoted my life to him, was merely a footnote in their love story, not even worthy of a mention by name. Occasionally when people mentioned me, they said I almost made them miss out on a lifetime together. After I agreed to the divorce, Shinhee said the same thing he did in his past life. Ning, why don't you believe that whether or not this is true, it won't affect my feelings for you? I believed my grandmother's ghost. My indifference gave Shinhee quite a headache. Ning, divorce is not a joke. Let's not make decisions in anger. He turned and left, giving me the cold shoulder, confident that eventually I would come around. At 4:30 in the morning, my alarm rang. I sneered, turned it off and deleted the whole chain. Then continued to sleep soundly. Mom, I want to eat the braised beef noodles you make. You haven't kneaded the dough yet. I'm going to be late. Shin Rujing knocked on my door. His intelligence was not fully inherited from Shinhee, but his fussy and fastidious character was exactly like him. From a young age, he insisted on only eating meals prepared by me. Go find your dad, I said, pulling the blanket over my head. He paused for a moment, then closed the door firmly behind him. After a good night's sleep, I woke up radiant and carefully applied my makeup before making a long overdue phone call. Fu Yuyan, I heard you've returned to start a business and even got a celebrity girlfriend, something like Lu Yan, right? After my rebirth, I immediately looked into Lu Yanjing, As a popular idol, her information was easy to find. Online sources mentioned she was about to star in a big-budget film, supported by mysterious financial backers, essentially bringing capital to the production team. Before I died, I overheard from nurses that Lu Yanjing had married an overseas businessman, Fu Yuyan. Fu Yuyan passed away 3 years ago due to illness, leaving no children behind. That simplifies things. Unknown to many, I was adopted by the Fu family at the age of 12 and called Fu Yuyan brother for a year, because he had confessed to me, and I later fell for Shen Heji. I wanted to avoid endless complications and decided to completely cut ties with the Fu family. Who would have thought? By missing this connection, we ended up as the early departed original partners of Shen Heji and Lu Yanjing. When I met Fu Yuyan, I got straight to the point. I want a divorce. It could create a scandal that might ruin your girlfriend's public image, so maybe reconsider if you really want to support her. Afterwards, I left all household chores behind and focused on painting in my best friend's gallery. I had lived a life of frustration and died with regrets. Now, I channeled all that energy into my paintings. When Shen Heji found me, I was holding a palette of oil paints, my hands full of brushes, my body smeared with various colors of paint, looking like a dirty mason. This caused Shen Heji, who was a stickler for cleanliness, to frown. Seeing that I had no intention of coming out, he stepped inside. Ning Ning, do you know Fu Yuyan? His withdrawal from the movie Promotion City, was that because of you? Fu Yuyan, true to being a businessman, acted swiftly and decisively. I continued with my painting. Oh, does Professor Shen also keep up with the entertainment industry? Shen Heji was silent for a while before carefully replying. The lead actress's agent approached me. This movie is very important to them. I didn't believe him. What is Lu Yanjing to you? Shen Heji adjusted his glasses and said helplessly, Ning Ning, I don't actually know her. It's just, Shen Heji, what do you think of this painting? I suddenly put down my brush and stepped aside. The large canvas depicted a fiery sunset illuminating a desolate mountain path in red. A simple woman was carrying 2 heavy baskets along the fiery red mountain path. Ning Ning, you know I don't understand art. Promotion City. This movie. My fingers traced the baskets as I spoke for myself. Do you know what she's carrying? It's charcoal. I turned to look at him, my smile cold. The sun is about to set, the stones underfoot will cool down, but if she's carrying charcoal, she can use the sunset to keep paving the fiery road, burning endlessly. Charcoal can't possibly be this heavy, nor can the sunlight ignite it. That's simply not plausible. So, this is just a lie to deceive women. The sun must set, and the path ahead must darken. The foolish woman in the painting is me from a past life. I viewed Shen Heji as the sun I was chasing, and Shen Rujing as the charcoal in the basket, my remaining hope. Always deceived by lies, carrying the weight. I moved forward, I stared intently at the painting, then suddenly, with a fierce motion, I grabbed the bucket of paint from the ground and hurled it at the canvas. Paint splattered everywhere. The painting I had meticulously worked on for 3 days turned into a thick curtain of black. It was a morning for the foolish and stubborn me of the past life. All lies are untenable, just like you could never truly love me. I suddenly shouted, gasping for breath and glaring at him. I request that Professor Shen agrees to a divorce. Don't settle. I, Jiang Ning, am never without options. Shen Heji was visibly shaken, his expression a mix of surprise and a hint of fear. Other options? Are you referring to Fu Yuyan? He asked, his lips quivering. In that moment, he seemed to finally understand that my resolve to divorce was real. 2 days later, Lu Yanjing and her agent came directly to my door. Upon entering, she looked around with her neck held high. Her demeanor was as if she was surveying her own fiefdom. The young Lu Yanjing was indeed attractive, but her condescending attitude, looking down on others as if they were mere ants, was exactly the same as when she was older. It showed how comfortable and smooth her life had been. Shen Heji courteously invited them to sit, taking the initiative to introduce us to each other. The once proud and talented professor, unblemished by the world, was now willing to play the obsequious mediator for the sake of his beloved, Mrs. Shen. What is your relationship with Yuyan? Lu Yanjing sat down with reserve, putting on airs. Oh, asking for favors yet not forgetting to maintain her stature. He once admired me. To him, I might be his first love, his unattainable love. I carefully observed her, responding deliberately and slowly. Her expression changed slightly. Shen Heji, who was serving tea, suddenly paused and looked at me. Ning Ning, why haven't you mentioned this before? A good ex should be like they are dead, right? over the years, I've done quite well, haven't I, Shinheji?" The room fell silent. Only the agent let out a slight hiss. "Why then are you contacting him again and making things difficult for me?" Lu Yanjing was displeased, tossing her bag onto the coffee table, the metal zipper clanking heavily against the glass surface, sharp and grating. "Ah, truly assuming the role of the lady of the house." I glanced meaningfully at Shinheji. I intentionally said, "I heard he might be in a relationship. I wanted to see if he still can't stop thinking about me. If that's the case, oh, that would be problematic, absolutely ridiculous. Jiang Ning, you are already married, you even have an 8-year-old son." Lu Yanjing stood up, her white jade-like fingers pointing at me, visibly upset. I stood up and brushed her hand away unceremoniously, coldly saying, "So what if I'm married? Can't I still think about my first love?" "You, not only think, I can also make him stay loyal to me in frustration." "Are you biting me?" Lu Yanjing finally realized something was wrong. A hint of panic flashed in his eyes as he instinctively turned to look at Shinheji. The two exchanged a doubtful glance before quickly looking away. The manager was completely confused. "Mrs. Shen, how can you say such things? Your husband and son are right here." It turned out that during our tense confrontation, Shen Rujing had come down from upstairs at some point, having overheard our conversation for who knows how long. He was in disbelief. "Mom, have you fallen for another man? Is that why you've been ignoring me lately? Do you really not want me anymore?" Lu Yanjing, frustrated, glared fiercely at Shinheji. Shinheji quickly stood up, trying to soothe his teenage son. "Jinger, your mom is just upset with me. Please, go upstairs, we'll handle this." But Shen Rujing wouldn't listen, his gaze fixed on me, as if waiting for me to admit it myself. I pretended not to see, and casually sat back down. "Oh, Jinger, how ironic." Choosing his name was just so I could openly call him Jinger. "Ningning, adults' issues shouldn't involve children, it's detrimental to Jinger's development." After coaxing his son downstairs, Shinheji frowned and scolded me unhappily. How amusing, he could say that adult issues shouldn't involve children. So, should children's issues involve adults? Should a young woman in her prime, like me, pay for their passionate mistakes? Serving as a mere titular nanny, Lu Yanjing stood up in anger, grabbed her bag, and stormed out, bumping hard into Shinheji's shoulder. "Ha, your wife really lacks manners, just a shallow, low-level woman. I don't believe Fu Yuyan would withdraw his investment because of her. Let's just wait and see," I said confidently behind her back. "Miss Lu, I believe you. After all, who hasn't been someone's first love? If not Fu Yuyan, there's always another sucker." As soon as I finished speaking, Lu Yanjing almost tripped at the threshold. Practically fleeing in panic, I watched her leave, arm in arm, in silence. Unfortunately, her other sucker, Shinheji, is currently just a professor trying to build his career in academia. His reputation for being young and good-looking surpasses his academic achievements. He's not reliable yet, otherwise, they wouldn't have had to painfully split up due to reality. Jiang Ning, Fu Yuyan investing in Prompt City is a business move, beneficial for him. Why must you do this? Shinheji sighed, his words full of sympathy for Lu Yanjing. I smiled faintly. "Professor Shen, instead of criticizing me here, why don't you go to the financial world and persuade those business tycoons to lend Miss Lu a hand?" His eyes behind the glasses suddenly narrowed, and he instinctively opened his mouth to ask me something, but ultimately, he lowered his eyes, sighed, and quietly walked away. I watched his retreating figure with a mocking look. Actually, my staging of today's drama was partly to vent my own frustrations and also to test the waters. If Shinheji felt guilty and offered to divorce, if he gives me enough compensation, then I might consider him somewhat conscientious. But, it's truly disappointing, he still avoids the issue, pretends to be unaware, and is determined to exploit me, shearing me like a sheep. My best friend tapped on my forehead and said, "Why make it so complicated? Just directly tell him you know Shen Rujing is their son." Shinheji values his reputation. How could he cling to a sham marriage? She doesn't agree with my cautious approach, but she doesn't really understand Shinheji. In my past life, he and Lu Yanjing schemed with all their might, concealing Shen Rujing's origins for decades without a whisper getting out. How could he tarnish his reputation as a professor just because of my words, even if he doesn't care about himself? He would consider it for Lu Yanjing. Lu Yanjing, 27 this year, needs to transition from a pop idol to serious roles. This blockbuster film is crucial for her. It will determine whether she becomes an overnight sensation, establishing her career, or fades away as she ages and gets eliminated. Then there's the gossip with Fu Yunyan. All these factors decide that she can't afford any scandals right now. Shen Heji loves her so much, how could he not consider these things? After getting a strand of Lu Yanjing's hair from Fu Yunyan, I had all the biological samples I needed from their family. I rushed to get a paternity test done. On the way back, I received a call from Shen Heji asking me to come home early tonight. He decided to talk about the divorce, but what I didn't expect was that it was a trap. After 3 glasses of wine, I started feeling hot and an unfamiliar desire began to stir within me. Shen Heji came over to support me, wearing the silk white shirt I picked out for him, the top 3 buttons undone, revealing a glimpse of his chest as he leaned over. My throat was dry, and I couldn't take my eyes off him, until he helped me to the bed and began tremblingly to remove my coat. That's when I suddenly snapped back to reality. Shen Heji, did you drug me? Shen Heji stiffened. Get out, I yelled, pointing at the door, tears streaming down my face from the discomfort. He was flustered and whispered soothingly, Ning Ning, it's not what you think, you just had a bit too much to drink. I've thought this through, let's try to make it work, I'll support whatever you want to do. I slapped him hard. Shen Heji, do you think I'm that stupid in your eyes? Can't I tell the difference between drugs and alcohol? If I hadn't been reborn, I wouldn't have known. I would have thought I was finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. He was ready to sacrifice, and I was too moved to suspect anything wrong with the wine. Who are you trying to impress with this heroic, sacrificial act? I pointed at his nose and yelled, I've seen you bloated, balding with a beer belly, greasy enough to make someone sick. I also know how ugly you look with a face full of orange peel skin, smelling like an old man, covered in age spots, with sagging skin hanging over your belly. You think by slipping me some cheap drug, you can make me comply? That's really funny. Overwhelmed by the heat in my body, my words came out harsh and my thoughts scrambled. After the outburst, I pushed him away, shocked and embarrassed, and ran out of the house. It started raining halfway, and I ran desperately, the cold wind hitting my face. Running and running, I suddenly stopped, propped myself up on my knees, and laughed breathlessly. Jiang Ning, you're right in your scolding, aren't you? Isn't it true? Without the filter of love. Decades later, isn't Shen Heji exactly as bad and ugly as I described him? To hell with his gentlemanly demeanor, his noble character, and his brilliant talents. After standing in the rain for half an hour, I realized I really had a fever, so I called Fu Yunyan. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital with an 4 in my arm. Jiang Ning, what are you and your husband up to? Fu Yunyan looked displeased as he handed his phone to me. It was his WeChat conversation with Lu Yanjing. Yunyan, Jiang Ning is just trying to spite her husband and seeking validation from you. She's a full-time housewife. What does she know about movies? If you really care about old times, you shouldn't indulge her nonsense. Everyone in the city knows she's madly in love with Shen Heji. Scrolling up, there was a video of more than a minute, under home surveillance. Shen Heji and I were having a candlelit dinner, gazing deeply into each other's eyes. Then I leaned on him, and he helped me into the room. I scoffed coldly and handed the phone back to Fu Yunyan. Then I called the doctor and explained the situation. Bastard, Fu Yunyan cursed, hands on his hips. After the doctor left, Ning Ning, they can forget about this money. It's absolutely outrageous to think you have no one to support you, he said as I fought back tears. No, I'll make them lose convincingly. Fu Yunyan looked at me, puzzled. My best friend Shin Han was on her way, bringing the anime movie sponsorship proposal we had worked on overnight. Shen Heji was right about one thing. Fu Yunyan's investment in Lu Yanjing was a business move, aimed at making money. How could I, then, rely solely on the fragile bonds of our youth to influence him? In this life, I might divorce, but my career will certainly flourish. In my past life, because of Shen Heji's obsession with cleanliness, I gave up the art I had studied hard for 20 years to devote myself full-time to him and his son. At that time, Shin Han had invited me to be the art director for her traditional Chinese-style animated movie. Considering Shen Rujing's busy school schedule and his inability to get along with the nanny, I had declined the opportunity. Now, I aim not only to be an art director but also a producer. Thus, regardless of Lu Yanjing's involvement, I am determined to secure Fu Yunyan's investment. The next day at the business cocktail party, Shen Heji and some industry bigwigs he had invited were persuading Fu Yunyan to continue investing in the movie Cui Qing. The director of Cui Qing was also present. I'm sorry, Director Zhou, but I've decided to invest in Director Chen's movie Neza instead. Which Director Chen? The crowd looked at each other in confusion. Chen Han and I entered, smiling, after a brief introduction. Everyone received a copy of the movie sponsorship proposal. After looking it over, several were genuinely interested. Naturally, Chen Han's movie had been a dark horse in her previous life, and now with my rebirth enhancing it, anyone with a slight understanding of movies would know it's a good investment. Thus, no one mentioned Lu Yanjing again. Feeling neglected for the first time, her eyes immediately reddened. Jiang Ning, let it be enough, to spite him. You've dragged so many people into your act, it's too reckless. I'm afraid you won't be able to end this smoothly. Shen Heji furrowed his brows and rebuked me in front of so many people. Then he turned to look at Fu Yunyan. Speaking earnestly, he said, President Fu, as Yanjing's boyfriend, you should know how important the movie siege is to her. I promise to handle things with Jiang Ning properly and ensure she won't be wronged. I didn't respond. Chen Han simply rolled his eyes in frustration. Shen Heji, Ning Ning has only been married to you for 6 years. Have you truly forgotten how profound her artistic achievements are? Fu Yuyan's expression darkened as he spoke bluntly. Jiang Ning isn't causing trouble. It's you who should go back to academia. You don't understand the film industry. Ignoring Shen Heji's displeased expression, he pointed at Lu Yanjing. Moreover, let me clarify one thing. My relationship with Miss Liu is purely professional. Professor Shen, you'd better understand your position before you speak. Lu Yanjing, who had been forcing a smile, could no longer hold it in. She set down her glass and quickly left the event. Overnight, she lost not only a major transformative production but also a powerful financial backer. And I haven't even played my trump card yet. Uncertain whether he was embarrassed or pained by Lu Yanjing's situation, Shen Heji hesitated for a moment before hurrying after her. The crowd looked at me with sympathy. I just smiled. I didn't take it to heart. On the day the paternity test results came out, Shen Heji returned home drunk. Professor Shen, who usually avoided socializing and despised the pursuit of fame, had set aside all his pride for the woman he loved, yet, he remained cold and aloof before me all his life. Staring at the report indicating a 99% probability of a biological father-son relationship, my heart still ached. I knew, it wasn't that I still harbored fantasies about Shen Heji, rather, I couldn't bear to admit that my life, in essence, had been worthless. The truth was brief, but to me, it represented over 40 years of enduring tough days and nights, of relentless hopes and fantasies, still gnawing at my nerves. As I opened the paternity report, I still fantasized, could it be that Shenru Jing was only Lu Yanjing's son, and the resemblance I saw as I neared death was merely a trick of my failing eyes? Now, utterly disillusioned, Shen Heji truly did not love me, not in the slightest. Throughout the long years, he never felt a man's instinct towards me. It would have been one thing if he had remained chaste, but he was indeed Shenru Jing's father. This realization trampled all my dignity as a woman into the mud. A surge of hatred welled up inside me, and I bit my lip until it bled. Shen Heji, I've decided, I want not just a divorce but also to leave you to them. I suddenly spoke out in the dark dining room. Shen Heji looked at me in shock and turned on the light. Why should I patch up your filthy, broken world? This is something you three should face together, I said emotionlessly. Shen Heji's face turned pale, his eyes clearing from their haze. He approached, his hands trembling as he picked up the report. After a long while, he lowered it slowly, his voice hoarse. Ning Ning, you know. Yes, I know. Nearly a minute of silence. He knelt before me, choking back tears. He recounted his past with Lu Yanjing to me. Back then, he was just a poor college student, unapproved by Lu's parents. The night they broke up, they impulsively slept together after drinking, due to lack of experience. It was 3 months before Lu Yanjing realized she was pregnant. She had to drop out of school and gave birth to Shen Rujing. Ning Ning, it's my fault, I ruined her life. Shen Heji gripped my hand tightly. I only feel guilt towards her, believe me. As for that matter, it's not what you think. I wanted to remain pure for her. Seeing my disbelief, he stood up, pulled me into his study, and took out a psychological report. After that incident, I've been seeing a psychologist. I can't get over it myself. I hate that I couldn't control myself. Ning Ning, give me some time. Struggle flashed in his eyes as he looked at me painfully. If you mind Rujing, I will send him away and make sure you never see him again. Ning Ning, can we not divorce? My situation is only temporary. I didn't believe a word he said. Shen Heji's greatest achievement wasn't in finance, it was in PUA, being a master manipulator, unrivaled by anyone. In my past life, a single sentence, Whether or not that happened, it won't affect my love for you. Had me willingly widow myself for him for a lifetime. Now, another line, I only feel guilt towards her, I want to make it work with you, trying to elicit my sympathy again, as if such good fortune existed. I coldly withdrew my hand. Professor Shen, I'm giving you 3 days to finalize our divorce, otherwise, I will immediately release this paternity test report. During those 3 days, I threw myself into work, cutting off all external information. Shen Han told me that Shen Heji spent every day outside my studio, even squatting in the parking lot just to see me. On the last day, he brought Shen Rujing to plead with me. Rujing called out for mom, his voice hoarse from crying. My heart was as hard as stone, unmoved. Shen Han was moved to tears and locked herself in her office to cry bitterly. For 6 years, I treated Shen Rujing like a precious jewel. He even recognized her as his godmother. She couldn't bear to be apart from her godson. Yet I, his real mother, was able to harden my heart. Now, I know you really want to divorce and start a new career. I took a sip of the cold coffee, bitter to the core. Chen Han doesn't understand. When I'm old, frail, and ill, placing all my hopes on him, his cold words would then say, Dad and Aunt Lu are at this age, wanting to spend their last moments with the one they love. Let them settle this regret. After all, they lost a lifetime because of you. No one knew how desperate and chilled I was at that time. Everyone in the world could misunderstand me, even curse me, and I wouldn't blame them. But Shen Rujing, I cannot forgive. It was him who made me end up truly alone in the final chapter of my life, living as a complete and utter pitiful soul. When the time came, I duly arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Shen Heji looked much paler and thinner, his lips covered in white dead skin. Dark circles under his eyes like someone who had been ill for a long time. He looked as if a gust of wind could knock him over. Jiang Ning, do we really have to end up like this? He asked. I pursed my lips and looked into the distance. He seemed to want to say more, but finally he just said, it's right for you to cut your losses. I'm really not sure about my illness. I shouldn't hold you back. The staff member asked him. Have you made up your mind? A flash of reluctance crossed his eyes. Then he silently nodded. The stamp fell, permanently ending the twisted fate between us. Whether he truly didn't want to divorce or was afraid I'd reveal Shen Rujing's origins, I no longer wanted to pursue it. Leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, Fu Yuxing's sports car was parked across the street. Before parting, Shen Heji spoke his final words to me. He said, Lu Yanjing was just a youthful impulse, a thing of the past. From now on, he would take good care of Shen Rujing and have no further involvement with her. His sincere and firm demeanor seemed entirely different from the 80-year-old Shen Heji. 6 months later, the film was released and achieved great success. At the celebration party, Fu Yuxing hugged me excitedly and spun me around a few times. Ning Ning, welcome back. This is the real you. I knew you would succeed, I screamed, dizzy and overwhelmed. Pounding on him, put me down. Haven't you made a fortune too? Shen Han teased him, suggesting that with the successful investment, he should perhaps return to Australia, as a hefty dividend was inevitable. During those 6 months, as long as I worked late in the studio, he was there with me, even moving his office over. The staff joked about never seeing such a dedicated investor. They even whispered that the Fu family might be bankrupt, relying on this investment for a comeback. When he heard this, he'd laugh and reply, I can't face my parents until I've won my wife over. Yet, in those 6 months in the glitzy entertainment industry, he was completely scandal-free. Eventually, everyone realized his target had always been me. From being indifferent at first, I moved to disbelief. I hadn't expected that a small love letter from our youth would turn into his fervent pursuit so many years later. When Shen Han privately asked if I would accept him, I subconsciously countered. Does someone really love me? She paused, laughed, and tapped my forehead. My big producer, you're now worth billions. Are you kidding me? Then it dawned on me. Oh, here I am at 27, still harboring dreams and pursuits of love, full of vigor, believing in the echo of constant thoughts, not like in my past life, where after over 40 years in a loveless desert, I believed I wasn't good enough to be loved. Aimlessly toiling away my life, an elderly lady ended up with nothing, so I told Fu Yunian that it might take a long time for me to believe that he loves me. He said it was okay, he would wait. One day, Chen Han rushed into my office with a wedding invitation in hand. It's strange, Shen Heji is actually going to marry Lu Yanjing. This is so unlike his previous behavior, he said. Something's off. He hasn't stopped trying to win you back these past few months. Why would he do something that's like digging his own grave? I glanced at the wedding invitation and was drawn to the handwritten signature of the groom. I abruptly stood up. A ridiculous thought crossed my mind. Shinheji had also been reborn, only I knew that the way these three characters were written was his new signature, designed specially for him after his 50th birthday, which he used until he was 80. On the day of the wedding, I secretly went to the banquet wearing a mask. Soon after Lu Yenjing was announced as the new female lead in the movie, prompting the city, she issued a statement retiring from the industry. It was a high-profile move, and her fans proudly claimed that she was going back to take over her family's business, as she no longer cared for the entertainment industry. Regardless, it was a graceful exit. The Lu family's business had been declining, and it wasn't long before Lu Yenjing was busy attending matchmaking events. Though the candidates her father introduced were of questionable quality, which greatly dissatisfied her, the media often captured her leaving these meetings with a frown and in a huff, so before long, she went back to Shinheji. Now, Shinheji, as a renowned university professor with impressive academic achievements, was highly sought after following his divorce. For some reason, however, the two of them made no progress. When asked about his romantic life, Shinheji always openly stated he had no intention of remarrying. During the toast at the wedding, I saw Shinheji instinctively reach for his cane as he turned around, and I knew I was right. Some habits, etched deep in the bones, don't change overnight. Our eyes met. We recognized each other instantly. Outside the hotel in the parking lot, he stopped me. Regardless, Jiang Ning, thank you for letting things go, he said. His eyes were indifferent, emotionless. Certainly not the Shinheji who had been unable to let go at the time of their divorce. I responded with a light smile. No need, it was about time. He nodded, somewhat emotionally. Seeing your achievements today makes me happy for you. Thank you, I said. Then, we fell silent. That was normal. After all, that's how we had spent the past several years. As we were about to part, he suddenly mentioned that he didn't understand why his younger self had rejected Lu Yenjing. Marrying his first love should have been a regret he was eager to rectify. He still keeps your studio, all the things you left at home. Lu Jing told me that he accidentally damaged one of your paintings and got a severe scolding from him. Old Shinheji looked confused. Jiang Ning, I fell ill when I was 55, and the psychologist said I had forgotten many things. I wonder if it's related to this, I asked in surprise. You were sick, he nodded thoughtfully. Oh. I've been seeing a psychologist without your knowledge. So, did he change his signature not to change his style, but because of his amnesia? Fu Yuyan saw that I hadn't replied for a long time and came looking for me, running into Shinheji. Professor Shen, congratulations on your marriage. He casually put his arm around my shoulder, his congratulations lacking sincerity. Shinheji wasn't upset, he nodded and turned to leave. Even as he disappeared from sight, I watched his receding figure. Jealous, Fu Yuyan took my hand and we walked back, sourly remarking, what's so good about that old scholar? He looks like he's aging prematurely, all dull and lifeless. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. He continued seriously, don't doubt it, people like him might go bald in their early 40s. Don't be fooled by his refined appearance now. Once he puts on weight, he'll be greasier than anyone. He thumped his robust chest. Like me, I love to work out, don't dwell on things. I guarantee even at 80 I'll still make your heart flutter. His words made me laugh so hard I almost fell over. A thought crossed my mind. It seems that Shinheji really did suffer from dementia in his old age. A year later, I also went with Fu Yuyan to Australia to meet his parents. You're really heartless, cutting off contact just like that. Even though you're married, we're still your family. Auntie Fu hugged me and wept. Once back at home, with his family's support, Fu Yuyan no longer maintained the humble demeanor he had when pursuing me in China. That's right, this time returning to China, she was smart enough to contact me first to vent her anger. Otherwise, I definitely wouldn't have bothered with her. As if I don't have my own temper, he said proudly. Auntie Fu, trying to hold back laughter and tears, explained to me, don't believe him, he actually came back to see how you were doing. And what if I was doing well? I asked. Fu Yuyan's expression darkened. He gritted his teeth, knowing that you avoid me like a plague. If you were doing well, I definitely wouldn't appear before you and bother you. I watched him quietly until my eyes were red, unable to hold back any longer. He came over in a fluster trying to console me. It's my fault, I shouldn't have said that, I deserve to be punished. With a cry, I threw myself into his arms, sobbing heavily. In my past life, he must have come to see me too. Seeing how I loved Shinheji madly, devoted myself entirely to family and our son, and gave up my own painting and future prospects willingly, so, he silently returned to Australia, cooperating with me, not disturbing me. After confirming my relationship with Fu Yuyan, I returned to the country. Chen Han was planning a new movie, and I needed to go back to help her with the preparatory work. After the meeting, we had a moment to relax and drank a cup of coffee. She told me that during the months I was in Australia, Shen Heji and Lu Yanqing's married life was chaotic. She reveled in the drama. That child, Lu Yanqing. We all know how difficult he is to manage. Lu Yanqing is another high-maintenance lady who doesn't lift a finger at home. I can almost picture it. Shen Rujing, finicky and obsessive about cleanliness, dislikes having strangers at home. Lu Yanqing, proud like a little princess, doesn't bother with household chores. Shen Heji, engrossed in his research, loves silence, and expects to be waited on hand and foot. What kind of life does this family of three lead? Chen Han chuckled as he pounded the table. You wouldn't believe it, but now everyone at University A, both faculty and students, knows Shen Heji isn't up to mark. Lu Yanqing ended up a widow right after getting married and is furious. She didn't even bother to save face for him. Shen Heji, once placed on a high pedestal, has been hilariously knocked down. I just smiled faintly at this. Chen Han also mentioned that during their arguments, Shen Heji would sigh, saying that Lu Yanqing couldn't compare to me. Unconvinced, Lu Yanqing methodically listed my dozens of virtues, leaving Lu Yanqing so angry she didn't return home for half a month. Now everyone is guessing when these two will finally divorce. Meanwhile, a certain man, overwhelmed with official duties abroad, overjoyed to hear about Shen Heji's inadequacies, hurriedly called me to confirm the news. I simply ignored him. After the movie wrapped up, Lu Yanqing found me, her former glory gone. She slumped down and threw a divorce certificate at me. Jiang Ning, did you do this on purpose, raising those two to be so critical? Were you trying to get back at me? I stirred my coffee gently. I've taken such good care of your son. And this is your attitude? She was taken aback. You're so dedicated. Why not just live well with them? Why come and disrupt my life? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be in this situation. Do you love Shen Heji? I asked. She replied irritably, I love Fu Yunian. Shen Heji and I were never meant to be. I understood, whether to love or not, for her and Shen Heji, was a choice of convenience at the moment. They are both selfish, loving only themselves. If they loved each other, why could they endure half a century without contact, without missing each other, and peacefully live their own married lives? If they didn't love each other, why did they immediately reunite like passionate lovers as soon as their respective spouses passed away, as if they couldn't bear to be apart even in death? Now I understand. For decades, they stayed out of each other's lives because each had someone else to share their burdens. They couldn't give up the benefits and convenience. Their reunion and continuation of their past relationship was merely due to loneliness. Lacking companionship, in the absence of better options, they were the best choice for each other. For the elderly Shen Heji, being reborn allowed him to marry his first love in his youth, but in the end, it's me, the wife he betrayed, whom he can't seem to forget. Shen Heji fell ill, insisting I visit him. Jiang Ning, I'm on my way out. He struggled to open his eyes and reached out to me tremblingly. I sat by his bed, quietly watching him. I remember. Didn't I promise you that apart from that one thing, I would give you the greatest honor a wife could have, that in this life, I would only ever be with you, I will never betray you? Yes, you've said that before. I didn't shy away. His eyes saddened as he spoke, but I forgot. I found another woman, and I got married again, so, this must be my punishment. I didn't respond, and he slowly closed his eyes, succumbing to a feverish delirium. I knew then that the older Shen Heji had passed away. He couldn't merge with his younger self. He had a successful life, both in family and career, yet he always dwelled on the first love he had hurt, Lu Yanjing. He had the chance to go back to his youth and rectify his regrets, but he discovered that the so-called perfect mending was uglier and more unbearable than the regret itself. He couldn't accept this reality, or perhaps he was too ashamed to face me again. For all these reasons, I no longer cared. When Shen Heji awoke again, he looked at me intently like a lost child, his eyes rimming red. It seemed he realized that he had returned. He suddenly grabbed my hand, urgently saying, Ning Ning, I'm not him. I love you. I never thought of betraying you. He spoke incoherently. You were too good to that old man. You pampered him too much. He never experienced the pain of losing you. I'm not him. I love you. After everything, I clearly know that I love you. Give me a chance, I will change. I pulled away my hand and shook my head. Shin Heji, this is you, you can't change, your personality prevents you from recognizing and seizing what is beautiful, you see others' love as a sign of weakness, so, when he was successful, he looked down on me, ignored me, acting high and mighty, as if he were my deity, but when I truly left, you became afraid, so, he belittled me, and now he's groveling. In his previous life, did he really win? Now I know, he did not. His best years were not spent with the one he loved, he could have had a passionate and vibrant life with me, but he failed to seize it. Instead, we wasted our lives on each other. I am at peace now. For such a Shin Heji, no matter who he marries, it's a waste. No matter how many times he is reborn, he is destined to miss out on happiness, and I, with a clear conscience, still have a bright and splendid future. To the old Mrs. Jiangning of the past life, I want to make peace, and then say goodbye. Leaving the hospital, I took out my phone and dialed, Fu Yunian, I miss you, I can't wait to start my new life. Story 2, on the day I married Shinbai, his first love committed suicide by jumping off a building. On our wedding night, my husband held the body of that woman and wept until his voice was hoarse. He said, Ying, if it weren't for your relentless pressure, how could she have died? Afterward, on every anniversary of our marriage, he would dress in a black suit and visit her grave. He killed my cat and forced me to have an abortion. He said, Furong is dead, how can you smile so happily? You must live the rest of your life in repentance. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in my college days, before Furong had died, and before I had married him. There was still time. This time I would let him and Furong be together, inseparably locked forever. In May, the air, no longer mild with spring, carried a hint of scorching heat. The sun shone brilliantly. I watched Shinbai running around the basketball court, sweating profusely. It was only after the game ended that I realized I had been reborn, back in my college days. Next would be the classic scene where Furong brings Shinbai water, but this time, I smashed her water bottle. My thoughts echoed slowly in my mind. In my previous life, just as Shinbai was finishing his game, I excitedly ran to the supermarket to buy his favorite drink and water for his teammates. After paying, I realized that Furong, who had planned to come with me, was nowhere to be found. I didn't think much of it, assuming she was busy with something. I sent her a message and then carried the heavy mineral water towards the basketball court. As I approached, I could hear the cheers. I quickened my pace, but when I reached the court, I saw everyone surrounding Shinbai. In his hand, he held a cup adorned with Peppa Pig. It was unmistakably Furong's cup, and there he was, unabashedly opening it and taking a drink. Shinbai and I grew up together, and since we were little, our elders joked about betrothing us. From the age of 7 or 8, he liked to call me little wife, always making me blush, so I knew Shinbai was a germaphobe. We often studied together in high school, and once I accidentally drank from his cup. Although he didn't say anything, his normally calm brow was deeply furrowed. Later, I saw the cup I drank from discarded in the trash. Since then, I knew he had a strong aversion to germs, just like his mother. Seeing Shinbai drink from Furong's cup made me realize they had been hiding a deeper connection from me. Had they exchanged bodily fluids? Was that why he no longer physically recoiled from her? In an instant, I felt nauseated. Meanwhile, I also remembered, I'm not sure when it started, but Shinbai always includes a mango-flavored milk tea whenever he buys some for me. I'm allergic to mangoes, and Mu Furong likes mango flavor. Whenever he gives me a gift, Mu Furong inevitably receives the same. In a past life, I raised the issue, but he just smiled and said, Ying, she's your best friend and she's not well treated at home. If we don't treat her well, who will? It seemed reasonable. In my past life, my thinking was simple, never questioning deeper motives. Even before this basketball game, it never crossed my mind that Shinbai might like Mu Furong. After all, he had promised me early on that he would marry no one but me. 2. In kindergarten, he always saved his share of candies for me. In elementary school, if other kids pulled my hair, he would pull me behind him and fight them, 1 against 5. Covered in bruises, he would say that he was a man and it was his duty to protect me. During our middle school years, amidst the throes of young love, while other students avoided relationships, fearing a bad reputation for puppy love, he would buy me soda, catch cicadas for me, and pick flowers. He once told me privately, Ying, we are meant to be together, so it's okay for us to be closer than others at this time. I laughed, feeling a bashful flutter in my heart, my smile sweet and tender. In high school, amidst the rigors of academia, We became the brightest spots in each other's lives. To be with him, I gave up my strengths and chose science, pushing myself to the limit with endless studying. My efforts paid off, and we ended up at the same university. From then on, we were inseparable, the envy of others. So, in a past life, when I discovered his secret dealings with Mu Furong, I couldn't hold back. I rushed forward and smashed Mu Furong's water cup to the ground. He froze for a moment. Probably feeling that I had embarrassed him in front of everyone, he shoved me hard. By a twist of fate, I stumbled backwards, tripped over a rock and fell, sprawling ungainly on the ground. It was quite undignified. The surrounding students mocked me loudly. He acted as if he hadn't seen me fall. Bending down to pick up the pink water cup, I landed hard on the concrete, the pain bringing tears to my eyes. Struggling to get up, I noticed blood on my palm from scraping it on the ground. Beside me, Mu Furong, seeing me rise, quickly started with a plaintive tone, "Ying, don't be mad. I just saw that big brother Shen was sweating a lot under the sun, and I was worried he might get dehydrated." Her voice trailed off as she looked down, twisting her fingers. Tears streaked down her pale face, truly a sight that evoked pity. As she spoke, she reached out to pull me in. I shrugged off her hand, and she hurriedly retreated to Shenbai's side. "Big brother Shen, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have offered you my water bottle. I saw you sweating a lot. I'm sorry." She continued to apologize. "Please don't be angry with Sister Ying. It's all my fault. I didn't think it through." Shinbai remained cold-faced, relentlessly insisting that I apologize to Mu Furong, accusing me of being unreasonable. He even questioned me. "What's wrong with taking a sip from someone else's water bottle? Do you want me to die of thirst?" "Ying, I really didn't know you were so petty. Furong is your friend, your best friend. Can't you be more accommodating? When we get married in the future, will you be intolerant even of a female mosquito near me?" His buddies laughed exaggeratedly at this. Someone even joked that my jealousy stemmed from my deep care for Shenbai. "Lucky you, brother Shen." Everyone was teasing and making a fuss. That day, I turned and walked away, crying all afternoon. Later, he came to coax me, his eyes reddening as he saw the injury on my hand. "Ying, I'm sorry, I had just come off the basketball court and was really thirsty." When I saw her offering the water, I couldn't help myself. "I didn't realize how much it mattered to you. It's all my fault. But Furong is your best friend, you guys share a dorm room. I only see her as a little sister, nothing more. I was worried you might accidentally trigger her condition. I got a bit anxious and pushed you. Please don't be mad." That evening, he took me out for dinner and bought me gifts, looking at me with eyes as tender as one would look at a beloved dog. "Yes, Mu Furong has depression. She said she felt suffocated at home, that whatever she did was wrong. She comes from a family that greatly favors males over females, where her brother is treated like a king, and even her grandmother won't let her sit at the table to eat. She could only eat what her brother left behind," Mu Furong told us. "I really can't stand my brother. He spits in the food while eating, and I can only eat what he leaves behind. If I don't eat, I go hungry. I feel nauseous with every bite." At that time, everyone in our dorm felt sympathetic and comforted her. Considering her depression, we all tended to give in to her. 3. "Hey, aren't you going to buy some water?" Mu Furong's voice brought me back to the present. In a past life, she used the excuse of me going to buy water to hurriedly bring water to Shenbai, blatantly challenging me. I glanced at the Peppa Pig water bottle she hugged in her arms and said with a smile, "Why buy water when you've already brought some?" It must have been my meaningful smile that, for a moment, left her somewhat flustered. I stood up and ran towards the school's convenience store. Perhaps Mufurong thought I was going to buy water. Yes, I did go to buy water, but I only bought one bottle. Twisting off the cap, I gulped down several mouthfuls. Under the blazing sun, I felt like I was turning into dried salted fish, and I didn't even like basketball. Well, apart from the earth, I'm not really into any other ball games. I took out my phone and called my mom. After exchanging a few pleasantries, I got to the main topic. "Mom, let me tell you a secret. Shenbai is dating someone now." "Ha ha ha," I said cheerfully over the phone. On the other end, my mom was clearly taken aback. After a pause, she asked me, "Ying, what's going on? Aren't you and Shenbai in a relationship?" "Mom, how could you misunderstand?" I hurriedly explained. "Shenbai and I just grew up together. If you must blame someone, blame yourselves for always teasing us since we were kids. But really, all there is between him and me is that we grew up together. Perhaps a bit closer than others." "Mom, think about it. We grew up peeing and playing in the mud together. How could we possibly date?" I deliberately laughed lightheartedly and added, let me tell you, the aloof, handsome guy at our school is really good looking. I'll try my best to win him over. Oh, but let's not talk about me, let's talk about Shinbai. My mom was clearly confused, and after a long while, she finally said, alright. Let's talk about Shinbai, what's going on with him? Is he really dating someone? Yes, he is even sharing a water cup with a girl, but that's not the point. The main thing is, he managed to get a girlfriend and didn't even treat us to a meal. Can you believe that? My mom, speaking earnestly, said, that's too much. Then, she asked about the aloof, handsome guy at school. I told her I was working on it. After chatting for over 10 minutes, just as I was about to hang up, my mom suddenly asked me, Ying, give me a straight answer. You and Shinbai, are you really not dating? Mom, it could be anyone but him, I said decisively. On the other end, my mom seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. I too exhaled deeply as I hung up the phone. In my previous life, I was naive and unaware of our family business matters, but in this life, I know it's a critical point. The Shin family is facing major financial issues and is seeking financing. If the financing fails, the Shin family will face the risk of bankruptcy. In my previous life, my family invested in theirs because Uncle Shin told my mom, your Ying's heart is entirely with my boy, and sooner or later, we will be one family. In this life, I made it clear to my mom that I do not love Shinbai. We will not get involved with the Shin family's business. Letting go of Shinbai feels really good. When you no longer love someone, that sense of relief and joy truly promotes mental and physical health. In my previous life, I suffered from depression under Shinbai's emotional abuse, eventually succumbing to breast cancer. In this life, for the sake of my own health, I should love myself a bit more. I was drinking a beverage as I walked to the court and, sure enough, there was Shinbai, tilting his head back, drinking from a Peppa Pig cup, gulping loudly in the sun as his Adam's apple bobbed. Seeing me, he hurriedly stopped drinking and walked over. Ying, where have you been? He asked with a smile. By the way, did you buy water for our teammates? I shrugged and smiled. Not yet, the supermarket is just over there, only a few steps away. While talking, my gaze fell on the water cup in his hand. He seemed to notice something and hastily handed the cup to Mu Furong. Mu Furong took the cup, a barely noticeable look of disappointment in her eyes. Then she spoke softly, Ying, I think Shinbai was just too thirsty, so I let him use my cup for a bit. Don't get the wrong idea. I pretended to be confused. What wrong idea? Oh, I asked with a grin. Furong, you wouldn't happen to like Shinbai, do you? Mu Furong's face turned pale, and she fidgeted with the hem of her shirt. A flash of panic also crossed Shinbai's eyes. I covered my mouth, chuckling. What's this? College is a paradise for romance. Furong, if you like Shinbai, just admit it. Are you afraid of treating us to a meal to make it official? Shinbai suddenly snapped. Enough. Ying, there's a limit to joking, I sneered. Thinking to myself about their deceit, Shinbai and his team won the game, and they had a barbecue dinner that night. He invited me, but I didn't go. Mu Furong went. She came back late, her face flushed from drinking, incessantly talking about Shinbai. I pretended not to hear. Before I knew it, it was the beginning of the month, and it was just me and Mu Furong in the dorm. She suddenly asked me, Ying, hasn't your mom sent you your living allowance for this month yet? I nodded and hummed an affirmation, ready to continue studying my vocabulary. Mu Furong said, then, can you give me my living allowance? I almost burst out laughing and teased her. Furong, you should be asking your mom for living expenses, why come to me? In our previous life, Mu Furong would often cry miserably in our dorm, complaining that her mother favored boys over girls and wouldn't give her living expenses. She also mentioned that she was an adult attending university and should be self-sufficient, suggesting she should get a part-time job. Being a child who grew up spoiled, how could I understand these struggles? Out of righteous indignation, I would take 3,000 out of my monthly allowance of over 10,000 to support her. Unexpectedly, my support led her to feel entitled to ask me for money. I had already thought of a countermeasure and smiled. Classmate Mu, that's not right. Initially, I helped you because I could afford it, and because we shared a dormitory. Supporting you was out of friendship, not supporting you is my right. After all, my family isn't running a charity. Now, I've fallen for a guy. I pretended to be infatuated, holding my cheeks in my hands and looking sorrowfully dreamy at a 45-degree angle. I want to save some money to buy him a gift and then confess my feelings, I said. Mu Furong was planning to act pitiful and ask for support. But after hearing what I said, she was utterly shocked, her mouth wide open enough to fit an ostrich egg. It took her a long while to stutter. Ying, aren't you and Shinbai a couple? How can you confess to someone else? I laughed. It turned out she knew that Shinbai and I were supposedly in a relationship. I deliberately said, classmate Mu, you must be mistaken, Shinbai and I just grew up together. And it was our elders who joked about us being a couple. How does that make us a couple? If anything, blame Shinbai for having no sense of boundaries, which caused no boys to pursue me in university. I think I should keep some distance from him in the future. Look, I didn't even go out to dinner with him after he won his last match. With that, I threw my arms open dramatically and exclaimed, sweet love, here I come. Initially, Mufarong looked upset, but then she burst into laughter, seemingly overjoyed. Ha! She probably thought that without me in the picture, Shinbai was all hers, and she could marry into a wealthy family. That afternoon, Shinbai called me to meet at the school's cafe. I went, ready to clear things up. After sitting down at the cafe, he got straight to the point and asked me, Ying, what are you trying to do? What? I feigned ignorance and asked, Shinbai, just say what you need to say. We've been together for so long, and now you suddenly go silent. You tell me you want to date a guy, that you like someone else. His voice rose sharply. This caused many in the cafe to look our way, gearing up to catch the latest gossip. With a calm smile, I responded, Shinbai, when have we ever been in love? Just because our elders joked about it a few times. Or because we've known each other since we were kids, you thought it was love. He suddenly stood up, pointing at me, and said, Ying, you're just a flirtatious woman. I've loved you wholeheartedly, pampered you, since we were kids. I picked flowers and caught cicadas for you, fought for you, helped you with your studies, and now that we're in college, you just plan to erase all that. He was extremely agitated, even shouting, classmates, won't you judge this for yourselves? The cafe, being on campus, was quite crowded. I stood up and from my bag, I took out a few items and threw them on the table. Shinbai, don't act like you're so devoted. What about the time you and Mu Furong were in a hotel room exchanging intimacies? Why don't you mention that? If we were really dating, would that not be considered cheating? I thought, since we all grew up together, I could forgive you for not liking me and liking another girl. So, what now? Am I the flirtatious one? Can't control your own desires, slept with another woman, and you have the audacity to call me flirtatious. While speaking, I threw a stack of indecent photos onto the table and the floor. Grabbing my bag, I turned and walked away. After I was reborn, I immediately hired a paparazzo to keep an eye on Shinbai and Mu Furong, obtaining photos of them together. In fact, these were not intended for Shinbai. After all, he's not married, nor is she. His cheating is his own business. I just need to be clear about it, not blinded by love like in my previous life. I needed solid evidence to quietly show my parents, to let them know that there's no future between me and Shinbai. No matter what the Shin family says, they should not invest in them. This time, I definitely won't let Shinbai use the family company to bind me for life, nor will I allow him to qualify as the CEO of the group. By evening, the whole school was abuzz with the gossip about Shinbai from the finance department, playing two sides. Hey, did you guys hear? Yes, from your finance department, really good at scheming, hooking up with another girl while still blaming his childhood friend and girlfriend for fancying someone else. Wow, that's explosive. I dug it up. The affair is with someone named Mu Furong, who's even in the same dorm as his childhood friend. You like Shinbai, and I have no objections to your relationship, but that doesn't stop me from despising you deep down. I don't want to see you. Strawberry Roll quickly pulled me aside and said, Ying, let's go, don't mind her. Mufurong's eyes reddened, on the verge of tears. She loudly said, you all just favor the rich and despise the poor, seeing my family has no money. You all fawn over Ying. Iris glared at her fiercely and said aloud, you're broke and still you managed to steal someone's boyfriend. With that, she turned and walked away. In fact, after the affair between Mufurong and Shinbai was exposed, they openly became a couple. It's unclear what set Mufurong off. She started to pick fights with Shinbai, demanding this and that, always comparing herself to me. She scoffed at clothes worth a couple of hundred yuan for being downmarket, despised non-branded bags as being unsuitable to carry, and criticized jewelry bought from Taobao as trash. She wanted clothes worth thousands, bags worth tens of thousands, and jewelry made of gold, jade, and pearls. Shinbai had a decent amount of pocket money, but he often needed it to entertain his friends lavishly. while it was fine for him to buy small gifts for Mufurong, spending hundreds or occasionally over 1,000 yuan. Buying luxury items like tens of thousands worth of bags or gold bracelets was beyond his reach. He began borrowing money from friends and making excuses to ask for more from his family. Initially, the Shin family was unaware of Shinbai and Mufurong's relationship. The Shin family's finances were in deep trouble, facing the risk of bankruptcy. Shin's father started raising funds everywhere. Naturally, in such situations, close friends and family are the first ones considered. The Shin family had approached my family early on, but my parents, being cautious about business matters, decided to wait and see. Later, after my mom told my dad about Shinbai and Mufurong's affair, my dad was very annoyed and instead invested in another project. I knew that project, from my past life experiences, it was a real cash cow, so I subtly hinted this to my mom. My parents, being astute, assessed and then invested in this project. After learning this, Shin's father came to our house, inevitably reproaching my parents, accusing them of forgetting past friendships and not helping him out. My dad just smiled ambiguously. Then, Shin's father couldn't help but complain about me. Olji, I know my family's finances are in trouble, facing the risk of bankruptcy, so you're reluctant to invest, but think about it, your Ying's heart is all for my son. The Yi and Shin families, sooner or later, will be one family. What's the use of holding on to your money? Listen to that. Is that something one should say? In other words, it's like saying, your daughter loves my son, and since you only have one daughter, all your assets will eventually belong to my son. Whether you give it sooner or later, you'll have to give it. Why hold on to it? To put it bluntly, it's nothing short of extortion. Upon hearing this, my mother couldn't hold back and scoffed coldly. Old Shin, since when has Ying ever liked your boy? They are just two kids who grew up together and went to school together. Don't you dare tarnish my Ying's reputation, and to top it off, your boy has already been dating someone in school. Oh, and I heard she's mentally ill. Shinbai sure has some peculiar taste. As she spoke, my mother threw a stack of photos she had received from me at Shin's parents. Instantly, the expressions on the faces of the elderly Shin couple changed. The Shin family's financing failed, their bank loan was due, and they were sued by the bank. Not only were the Shin family's assets frozen, but their real estate was about to be auctioned off by the court as well. Shinbai was unaware of all these events. Mu Furong, in her desire to marry Shinbai and now without me as an obstacle, was thus doubling her efforts, gently coaxing him with tender care. This greatly satisfied Shinbai's pride and machismo on a certain level. However, the good times didn't last. Just when Mu Furong thought that her relationship with Shinbai was set in stone, Shin's mother found the school and came straight to our dormitory. She slapped Mu Furong across the face upon seeing her. Then, Shin's mother grabbed Mu Furong's hair and started beating her brutally. I'll beat you to death, you shameless tramp, you little vixen. Shin's mother cursed and yelled. Mu Furong was beaten to tears. Initially unaware that the fierce old woman was Shinbai's own mother, the situation escalated until the head of the student affairs office had to intervene. It got to the point where we had to call the police. Of course, I also called Shinbai to come over. Only then did Shin's mother stop, and both parties began to mediate. Since we were all from the same dormitory, we went along too. Shin's mother kept insisting that her son and I were the real couple, blaming Mu Furong for seducing her precious son like a siren. I couldn't help but scoff internally, blaming Mu Furong. Why didn't she blame her son for not being able to keep his pants zipped? In a previous life, she used the same tactic to manipulate me, saying that Mu Furong was the one who truly loved her son and would die for him, and me, having won her son's heart, why didn't I cherish him? In that previous life, I was foolishly in love, thinking Shinbai was perfect. The mistake was mine and Mu Furong's, not his. Brains are a good thing, but if you're blinded by love, you might as well not have one. The police asked me what happened. How would I know? So, I said, Shinbai and I grew up together, and when we were kids, our parents used to joke and tease us about each other, but now that we've grown up, he has fallen for Mu Furong, and I've fallen for someone else. We have nothing to do with each other. That's common knowledge around our school. Shinbai and Mu Furong were in a relationship that had progressed to physical intimacy. When I shared this with the police, they could only try to persuade Shinbai's mother. Unrelenting, Shin's mother caused a scene, demanding that Shinbai break up with Mu Furong and apologize to me. She also told me, Ying, Shinbai was just momentarily seduced by that wretched girl, don't be upset. I smiled and assured her that I was not upset at all, Auntie. I'm actually happy that Shinbai has a girlfriend. Why would I be upset? After the commotion caused by his mother, Shinbai finally realized that his family had gone bankrupt. He was no longer the privileged young master of the Shin family. That wasn't the end of it. Apart from bank loans, his family owed money to private lenders and had unpaid staff wages. Amidst his relationship woes with Mu Furong, he had also taken out some online loans to compete with me. He had thought that a mere amount over 100,000 yuan would be easy to handle by causing a stir at home, expecting his normally indulgent mother to bail him out instantly, but now, he was stunned. Like his father, he turned his hopes towards my family, pursuing me with all his might, candles at the dorm door, daily breakfast deliveries, sending flowers. If it had been anyone else, there would have been fans cheering them on, shouting, "Get together." However, at the girls' dorm, just mentioning Shinbai made everyone take a detour, and it wasn't for no reason. His and Mu Furong's indecent photos had hung on the school's public wall for a long time. Just when that scandal had died down, his mother stormed into the school, causing such a scene in the female dormitory that she had to be reported to the police. This gave the school's gossip mongers plenty to talk about. At this point, I, the person involved, wasn't even sure how far the gossip had spread. In any case, I was known as the pitiful one who had been wronged. This morning, Shinbai came again, unable to tolerate it anymore. I threw the rose he handed me onto the ground and exclaimed, "Shinbai, can't you have some shame? You like Mu Furong, why can't you just be with her properly?" Mu Furong is making a scene every day, claiming we bully and humiliate her, even threatening to commit suicide in a red dress and haunt us as a ghost. We're almost driven mad by her antics, and you're shameless. I have my dignity, and I want to pursue other guys. Your behavior is essentially harassment, you know. If you keep this up, I'm calling the police." Shinbai stared at me, his expression complex. I didn't bother with him further and hurried off to class with my roommates. These past few days, it wasn't just Shinbai causing trouble, Mu Furong was too. She said to me, "Ying, since you don't like Shinbai, why can't you let us be? We are truly in love, please. Don't compete with me for Shinbai. I really like him, I love him, I can't live without him." She even knelt at the dormitory entrance with a placard. She asked for my forgiveness. I explained to her several times that I really didn't like Shinbai anymore and had broken up with him. However, she went on to cause several scenes with Shinbai, but after Shinbai became aware of his own family circumstances, he felt a chill run down his spine. To him, I was his only shortcut, so he was determined to win me over at all costs, even if it meant exploiting his charm. At this time, he absolutely despised Mu Furong. He believed that Mu Furong had ruined his chances. If it weren't for Mu Furong actively seducing him, how could he have lost control and gotten involved with her? These shameless words came directly from Shinbai himself. Every time he explained the situation with Mu Furong, he claimed she seduced him. He even said that it was normal for a 20-year-old man to have needs. He even told me that it was a sign of his healthy physique. If I hadn't been reborn, I couldn't imagine how my childhood friend, my once close playmate, could become so shameless. As the final exams approached, we were all too busy to focus on anything but our studies. Unexpectedly, right after the exams ended, a strawberry roll, little Iris, and I were leaving the exam hall. We heard someone was threatening to commit suicide on the rooftop of the shopping mall across from us. She was even wearing a red dress. Apparently, she couldn't handle being dumped after a romantic relationship. Something felt off, so I hurried with Strawberry Roll and little Iris towards the mall. It can't be, can it? That foolish woman wouldn't really commit suicide, would she? Strawberry Roll, panting from running, cursed. I hope not. I don't want to deal with such bad luck. Unfortunately, we did end up facing this tragic event. In both her past and present life, Mu Furong couldn't escape the fate of suicide. She already suffered from mild depression, and after being dumped by Shinbai and scorned by everyone else, she became despondent. Shinbai also constantly provoked and insulted her. Eventually, just like in her past life, she resolutely chose to end her life by jumping off a building. But this time, the person who drove her to desperation was Shinbai, who had loved her deeply in their previous life. When we arrived, her body had already been taken away, and a distraught Shinbai was being questioned by the police. Since it was a suicide, Shinbai was quickly released. However, he fell seriously ill after being released, reportedly due to the shock. After all, seeing Mu Furong in her bright red wedding dress dead before him was understandably shocking. But after recovering from his illness, Shenbai began to talk nonsense. He claimed he was the CEO of Qingye Group, owning billions in assets and several luxury houses. He said he wanted to marry me. He staggered to my front door. Coincidentally, my mother, worried that Mu Furong's death might have shocked me, had just taken me on a trip and we were returning home. Seeing him in his disheveled, almost homeless appearance, she frowned deeply. Ying, I've found you at last. You see, I was just down on my luck for a while. I will have money. Truly, do you believe me? No, that's not right. At this point, he shook his head and said, marry me, Ying. This time, I will truly cherish you and never let you down. I was really just deceived by Mu Furong. I called security and had him thrown out. Shenbai went mad. To pay for his medical treatments, Shenbai's parents worked everywhere and borrowed money. Life became even harder and more unbearable. Of course, all these had nothing to do with me or my family anymore. A year later, at the business cocktail party of Qingye Group, I ran into Su Yi, the aloof school heartthrob who I often jokingly mentioned to my mom, holding a glass of red wine. He smiled with a refined elegance. Miss Yi, I heard from your aunt that you've admired me for a long time, he said, as he confidently presented his business card QR code on his phone. I felt so awkward I could have dug a castle with my toes. Girls at school who admired him could line up all the way to the Atlantic. Couldn't I just make a casual remark, well then, can I admire you, and maybe we add each other as friends, he said cheerily. What happened to the aloof persona? As the party ended and I was heading to the door, Shenbai suddenly burst out, shouting at me, Ying, it's not like that, it's not like this, how can you fancy someone else? I know you love me, truly love me. As he spoke, reeking and looking like a vagrant, he reached out to embrace me. Because of his beggar-like appearance and the stench he carried, security dragged him away. I walked up to him and just looked at him, and after a long while, I finally said, Shenbai, this time, Ying, have absolutely nothing to do with you, neither does Qingye Group have anything to do with you. Life without you is truly too joyful. I can live happily every day, and as for you, Mu Furong died because of you, in past and present lifetimes alike. You should spend your life repenting in poverty. He stared at me with his mouth agape. Ignoring him, I turned and walked towards the bright future that awaited me.